In the coal dark hills of Fayetteville, West Virginia, the 2 miles north of the courthouse on Route 16, stood a comfortable 2-story white frame house belonging to George and Jenny Sodder. On the night of December 24th, 1945, 10 children slept upstairs while their parents and the 4 oldest prepared for a quiet Christmas. By dawn, the house was ash, 5 of the children were officially dead, and not a single trace of them, bone, tooth, or button, had been found in the ruins. In today's episode, we're going to see through the story. I will try to cover this whole mysterious story. As much as I can, this is so far my favorite catchy mystery. Let's not talk too much and get into it. Our story ignites far from West Virginia's coal mines, in the sun-baked hills of Tula, Sardinia, Italy. Giorgio Sodder, later Americanized to George Sodder, was born in 1895 to a humble farming family. The youngest of several siblings, young Giorgio grew up amid olive groves and ancient ruins, learning the value of hard work from dawn to dusk labor. But Italy in the early 1900s was a land of poverty and unrest, with economic strife pushing waves of immigrants across the Atlantic. At just 13 years old, in 1908, Giorgio boarded a steamship bound for Ellis Island, accompanied only by an older brother who planned to return home immediately after seeing him settled. The brothers parted ways at the bustling immigration hall. Giorgio never saw his family again. Landing in New York with empty pockets and broken English, Giorgio hustled for survival. He took odd jobs as a shoeshine boy and newsie, sleeping in tenements teeming with fellow Italians. By 1910, he migrated to Pennsylvania, drawn by the railroad's promise of steady pay. There, he labored as a track layer, his wiry frame toughened by swinging picks and laying ties in the brutal Appalachian winters. George was no stranger to prejudice. Anti-Italian sentiment ran high, with slurs like Dago echoing on job sites. But he was sharp, opinionated, and ambitious, saving every penny while educating himself through night schools and borrowed books. Meanwhile, in a parallel tale of immigration, Jenny Cipriani was born in 1901 in Calabria, Italy. Her family crossed the ocean when she was a toddler, settling in Clarksburg, West Virginia, amid the state's burgeoning Italian communities. Jenny's childhood was marked by the clatter of coal cars and the aroma of homemade pasta. She grew into a gentle, resilient woman. George's path crossed Jenny's in 1922 in Smithers, West Virginia, where he had moved to drive trucks for coal companies. Smithers was a gritty mining town, its streets lined with company stores and saloons. George, now 27, was smitten by 21-year-old Jenny's warmth and shared cultural heritage. They courted amid picnics by the Canal River and dances at local halls, bonding over stories of Italy's sun-drenched landscapes. They married in 1923 in a simple Catholic ceremony, attended by fellow immigrants. George promised Jenny a life of security. She vowed unwavering loyalty. Little did they know, their union would birth a family destined for unimaginable tragedy. The early years of marriage were a grind, but George's entrepreneurial spirit shone. By 1925, he had saved enough to launch Sodder Trucking, starting with one battered Ford Model T hauler. He transported coal from the mines to processing plants, navigating treacherous mountain roads slick with rain or snow. Jenny managed the home front, giving birth to their first child, John, in 1923. He was followed by Joseph, Joe, in 1923 or 1924. Records vary slightly due to immigrant documentation inconsistencies. Marion in 1925 and George Jr. in 1927. The family settled in Fayetteville, a small town of about 1,500 souls in Fayette County, nestled in the New River Gorge. Founded in 1837, Fayetteville was a hub for coal mining, with the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad snaking through, carrying black gold to the world. The Sodders bought land on Route 16, a two-lane highway flanked by dense forests and steep ravines. By 1930, George built their dream home. More children arrived. Maurice in 1931, Martha Lee in 1933, Louis in 1935, Jenny Jr. in 1937, Betty in 1939, and finally Sylvia in 1942. 10 in total, a testament to the era's large families. The Sodder kids were a lively bunch. Maurice, at 14 in 1945, was the protector, tall and athletic with a love for baseball. Martha, 12, was the dreamer, sketching flowers and reading fairy tales. Louis, 10, was mischievous, always tinkering with gadgets. Jenny Jr., 8, was the helper, shadowing her mother in the kitchen. Betty, 6, was the baby before Sylvia, with curls and an infectious giggle. Sylvia, just 3, was the family's joy, toddling around in pinafores. George's business boomed during the Depression, as coal demand surged for wartime production. By 1940, he owned multiple trucks and employed drivers, amassing a comfortable fortune. The family attended St. Patrick's Catholic Church, where the children were baptized and schooled in catechism. Neighbors like the Pruitts and the Taylors described the Sodders as decent folk. Generous, if a bit clannish due to their Italian roots. George was vocal about politics, railing against Mussolini's fascism in local bars. Il Duce is a tyrant, he'd declare, earning nods from some and glares from others with ties to the old country. World War II cast shadows. Joe enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1943, serving in the European theater. By late 1945, he was still overseas, fighting in the waning days of the conflict and its aftermath, sparing him from the horror that would soon engulf his family home. Letters from Joe arrived sporadically, filled with tales of camaraderie and longing for Jenny's cooking. As 1945 dawned, life resumed its rhythm. The war ended in Europe by May, Japan surrendered in August. Fayetteville celebrated with parades, but George remained wary. Rumors of mafia influence in the coal unions circulated, and his anti-Mussolini stance had made enemies. Still, Christmas approached with promise. Marion, now 20, worked at Murphy's dime store in Charleston, sending toys home. A rubber football for Louis, a chemistry kit for Martha, who loved science, building blocks for Louis, a tea set for Jenny Jr., and a stuffed bear for Betty. Sylvia, too young for much, got a rattle. Then the omens began. October 1945 brought the first chill, not just in the air, but in the soul. One crisp afternoon, a dapper man in a fedora knocked on the Sodders' door. He was Italian-speaking, peddling life insurance from a company tied to Sicilian immigrants. Jenny answered, politely declining. His face twisted. "Your goddamn house is going up in smoke," he snarled in accented English, pointing at the structure. "And your children are going to be destroyed. The dirty remarks you have been making about Mussolini are going to make you suffer." He stormed off, slamming the gate so hard the hinge bent. Jenny told George, who dismissed it as a crank, but unease lingered. Weeks later, another salesman appeared, this time hawking fire insurance. George, confident in his home's sturdy wiring, installed in 1940 by licensed electricians, refused. The man leaned in, eyes narrowing. "You think you're safe? This place will burn, and those kids of yours will go up with it." George chased him off, but the words echoed. In late October, John, 22, and George Jr., 18, both working in the trucking office, noticed a suspicious car, a black sedan with Maryland plates, parked repeatedly on Route 16. A man inside, wearing a dark coat and hat, watched the younger children, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny Jr., and Betty, as they walked home from Fayetteville Elementary School. The kids waved innocently. The brothers confronted him once, but he sped away. George reported it to Sheriff Oscar Tinsley. Early December amplified the dread. A stranger, claiming to seek hauling work, arrived unannounced. While George discussed rates, the man wandered to the backyard, inspecting the fuse boxes mounted on the exterior wall. "These are going to cause a fire someday," he muttered, tapping the porcelain insulators. George, puzzled, explained they were brand new, rated for 200 amps, far exceeding the home's 60-amp draw. The man shrugged and left. That same week, a power company inspector, summoned by George, examined the wiring top to bottom. "Perfect condition," he certified in writing. "No faults, no phrase." As Christmas neared, the family decorated. A 7-foot fir tree sparkled with tinsel and glass ornaments imported from Italy. Stockings hung by the fireplace. Marion mailed gifts from Charleston. The cowboy set for Maurice, a chemistry kit for Martha, who loved science, building blocks for Louis, a tea set for Jenny Jr., and a stuffed bear for Betty. Sylvia, too young for much, got a rattle. The children begged to stay up late on Christmas Eve. George and Jenny relented with one condition: lock up and turn off lights before bed. It's 6 p.m. Dusk falls early in winter. The family gathers for supper: Jenny's lasagna, garlic bread, and salad from the greenhouse. Laughter fills the dining room as Maurice teases Martha about her crush on a schoolmate. George shares a toast: to peace and to Joe watching over us. After dinner, the kids open Marion's gifts, squealing with delight. Betty hugs her bear. Louis assembles a toy plane. 8 p.m., George and the older boys, John and George Jr., retire to the attic, exhausted from a day of deliveries. Marion, home for the holiday, curls on the living room couch with Sylvia, reading The Night Before Christmas. The 5 middle children head upstairs. Maurice shares a room with Louis, Martha with Jenny Jr. and Betty. They chatter about Santa, pajamas buttoned against the chill. 10 p.m., the phone rings, a jarring trill in the quiet house. Jenny answers in the kitchen. A woman's voice, slurred and unfamiliar. Is this the Sodder residence? I need to speak to. Oh, never mind. Laughter erupts in the background, clinking glasses, jazz music that sounds foreign. The woman giggles and hangs up. Jenny chalks it up to a party line mix-up, common in rural areas. 11 p.m. George and Jenny go to bed in their ground floor master. They leave the downstairs light on and curtains open for the children still playing. Good night, loves. Jenny calls up the stairs. 12 a.m. Midnight, the house quiets. Marion dozes with Sylvia. Upstairs, the kids whisper until sleep claims them. 12:30 a.m. The phone rings again. Jenny, groggy, answered. Same voice, more laughter, more clinks. Wrong number? Jenny snaps, hanging up. She notices oddities. The front door unlocked, shades raised, lights blazing. She's certain she secured everything. Shrugging it off as kids' forgetfulness, she locks up, flips switches, and returns to bed. 1 a.m. Jenny jolts awake to a thud on the roof, like a heavy rubber ball slamming down. She hears rolling, then silence. George stirs but dismisses it as ice falling from branches. Jenny lies uneasy, staring at the ceiling. 1:30 to 1:45 a.m. Smoke seeps under the bedroom door. Jenny smells it first, acrid, electrical. She shakes George. Fire! They burst into the hallway. Flames engulf George's office, licking up walls papered with family photos. The blaze roars, heat intense. Jenny screams upstairs. Kids! Fire! Get out! George dashes outside, barefoot in pajamas, pounding on windows. John and George Jr. escape via the attic stairs, which miraculously hold. Marion grabs Sylvia and flees through the front door. The 6 survivors huddle in the yard. George, Jenny, John, George Jr., Marion, Sylvia. They shout for the others, no response. Flames now consume the staircase, blocking access. 1:50 a.m. George tries re-entering through a window. Glass shatters, but heat blasts him back. He runs to the side yard for the ladder, gone. It's always leaned against the house for gutter cleaning. Panic rises. 2 a.m. George attempts to drive his coal trucks, a 1942 Chevy and 1945 Ford, to the house to climb atop and reach upper windows. Both engines crank but won't start. Starters spin futilely. Wires tampered with. Jenny sends Marion running to neighbor Faye Pruitt's house, 0.4 miles away, to call the fire department. Pruitt's phone dead. No tone. Neighbors further down try. Same issue along Route 16. A motorist, driving home from midnight mass, sees the blaze and races to Fayetteville. He bangs on Fire Chief F.J. Morris's door. Morris, a volunteer, starts the phone tree, calling firefighters one by one. Delays ensue. Some are at holiday parties. Back at the house, George smashes a rain barrel with a shovel, water frozen solid. He and the boys scoop snow into buckets, but the fire rages unchecked. Witnesses later describe it as exploding, flames 30 feet high, unnatural speed for a wooden structure. 3 a.m. The roof collapses inward with a groan, sparks showering the night. The house folds into the basement in under 45 minutes, impossibly fast. 4 to 7 a.m. The survivors wait in agony, wrapped in blankets from neighbors. No screams heard from inside, eerie silence amid the crackle. 8 a.m. The Fayetteville Volunteer Fire Department arrives, 5 hours late. Chief Morris and 4 men poke through embers. Nothing left, Morris declares. The kids are gone, burned to ash. No search conducted. They leave after 30 minutes. Christmas morning, 1945. Snow falls on the ruins, a cruel irony. The Sodders, sheltered by neighbors, are numb. George bulldozes dirt over the site days later, planting flowers as a memorial. Ivy, roses, forget-me-nots. Official report: fire caused by faulty wiring. Children cremated completely. But cracks appear. December 26th. Telephone repairman climbs pole. Line cut cleanly, 14 feet up. Not burned, deliberate sabotage. December 27th. Ladder found in ravine 75 feet away, hidden under brush. December 28th. Trucks towed to garage, starter cables removed, coiled neatly under seats. December 29th. Bus driver Grover Paxton tells police he saw fireballs thrown at the roof around 12:30 a.m. from a car parked nearby. December 30th. Waitress at Greystone Inn, Charleston, 50 miles away, reports seeing 5 children matching descriptions in a car with 2 men and 2 women, dark-complected, Italian-looking. Kids seemed scared and quiet. January 1946. State Fire Marshal Oscar Tinsley investigates. He notes no electrical short evidence, fuses intact. Heat estimated at 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit max, insufficient for total bone destruction. Yet case closed. Accidental. 1946. Sodder's hire PICC Tinsley, no relation to sheriff. He uncovers. Insurance salesman identified as Fabio Lombardi, linked to Sicilian mob. Lombardi denies threats but flees town. Fireballs, possibly pineapple grenades, common surplus post-war. Phone caller traced to a bar in Ansted, 10 miles away, owned by a Mussolini sympathizer. 1947. Pathologist Dr. Wilfred Catlett from DC consults. Impossible for 5 bodies to vanish. Bones survive cremations at higher temps. He cites cases where skeletons remained in house fires. 1948. Sodder's petition Governor Oki Pattison for state excavation. Denied. 1949. With permission, Tinsley digs. Finds rubber fragments from ball on roof. Beef bones planted. A human vertebra, later deemed from an adult, not child. Also Lewis's dictionary, unscorched, atop fill dirt. Theories emerge. Kidnapping by Italian mafia for George's anti-fascist views. Or union grudge. George refused to join Teamsters. 1950. Frustrated, Sodders erect a 20 by 10 foot billboard on Route 16. Photos of the 5 descriptions: Maurice, 5 feet 8 inches, brown hair; Martha, 4 feet 10 inches, blonde, etc. $5,000 reward. What happened to our children? It pleads. Sightings explode. 1950 NYC. Hotel clerk sees kids with foreign couple. 1951 St. Louis. Woman claims Maurice begged for help in a park, yanked away by man. 1952 Texas. Rancher spots all 5 at a fair, speaking Italian. 1954 Florida. Daytona motel owner IDs them from photos. .1960 California. LA diner, aged up versions served by aunt. 1967 Anonymous letter from Houston. Photo of young man resembling Lewis, back inscribed. Lewis Sodder. I love brother Frankie. Ill boys. A 90132 or 35. Postmark, Kentucky. PI traces to abandoned address. 1968. St. Louis deathbed confession. Woman says husband, mafia hitman, torched house, abducted kids for adoption, ring tied to Sicilian families. Names redacted, she dies. 1969. FBI involvement, J. Edgar Hoover assigns agents. They conclude no evidence of abduction, but files note inconsistencies. 1970s. Retired firefighters whisper. Morris ordered minimal search. Bodies already removed. 1980s Sylvia, now Paxton. Archives everything, letters, photos, maps. Jenny dies 1989, age 88, whispering, they're alive. George follows months later, age 94. Billboard dismantled 1989, but mystery endures. 2000s. DNA tests on bone fragments, non-human or unrelated. 2010s. Aging software matches 1967 photo to Lewis at 98% confidence. 2018. Anthropologist. Vertebra from 20 to 30-year-old planted. 2021. Podcast Sodder Files uncovers Morris's ties to insurance fraud. 2023. Ex-trooper. Case shut down from above, 1946 order. 2024. AI analysis of fire photos suggests accelerants, no natural spread. 2025. As of December 2nd, Sylvia, 83, launches website with declassified files. A new sighting in Sicily. Elderly woman resembling Martha? 80 years on, no graves, no closure. The Sodder site is now a park, but locals swear to ghostly laughter on Christmas Eves. Were the children stolen for revenge? Sold? Or did they perish, evidence erased? The flames took more than a house. They ignited an eternal question. Where are they? And that was our story for today. Hope you enjoyed. Please note that I couldn't find some of the pictures and the kids' pictures. Excuse me for that. It's really tragedy what happens to this family. If you want us to tell any story, if you have any recommendation, don't be shy and tell us in the comments or our email in the description below. It would be a pleasure. Don't forget to show us your love and support. See you next time. Take care.